So Malcolm and I are about to go to Terralingua and we are going to stay in a yurt. I am super excited. It's going to be great. We're going to do some hiking, and obviously being in the middle of the desert, what else do you need except a book, right? And I have to blame Brittany Birkenfeld for this because I didn't care for the first book, but then I thought, is that really true? Because I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I bought the second one and here we are. I'm gonna try to read through this. I'm also trying to get a head start on my nonfiction read, The Butchering Art by Lindsay Fitzharris. Listened to her on a podcast before, super interesting. We'll see how far we get. So on the docket today, we are going to go into Big Bend National Park, and having been a lifelong Texan, it's still gonna be my first time ever being here. Our stay last night here at the local chapter was so comfortable. It took us a minute to learn how to heat and cool the place properly. I probably Googled at least 3 different articles on this little split unit we have over here, and then reread the instructions on the stove over here, because if I get cold, I can't sleep. We figured it out. Overall, excellent stay. We are going to go grab some breakfast and pick up some water, and then we're gonna head in to Big Bend National Park. We did it. The trail we took, the window trail, is the one that we were able to do, and it was a 5-mile out and back where you actually start descending into the mountain before you come to the actual window, which was breathtaking, but also a little scary because the rocks were very, very slick. Like there was not a lot to grab onto. There was no railing. So it was like, if you're gonna get close to the window, you better be sure of your footing, because Malcolm actually slipped and scared me a little bit. Luckily, we came out alive. It was great. It was beautiful, and so glad that we went. On the way up, my cardio was challenged because it was very steep coming back up, and my feet in my new hiking boots, they're a little tender right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and get cleaned up, and then I'm gonna keep reading. Oh, I need to update y'all on my book. Hang on. Got a decent amount through yesterday, about a third. I picked this book because I knew it was gonna be an easy, quick read for me to get through. I'm loving the way this one is going. I think that the characters are more relatable and likable in this one. It is a romance book, based off of the first one, I definitely am liking this one better than the first one. So we'll keep reading, and I'll give you more of like a detailed update on what my thoughts are as we continue. So stay tuned. We made it back. I was so pleasantly surprised at how beautiful the Big Bend National Park was, and even the state park was gorgeous. I did manage to finish Resurrection up right way. I had some thoughts about the ending that I wanted to share with you, as well as kind of give you a summary. I'm also going to share some details with you guys on my reading journal. This year, I am going to use a specific rating system for each of the books that I read. That way, I have a more comprehensive and solid idea of why I'm rating a book the way I'm rating it. So I'm going to start with plot, setting, writing quality, character likability, and can't put downness, which is just a Jessica-ism for how much I love the book and couldn't stop thinking about it and couldn't put it down. This book is actually the second book in the trilogy that is out, and I believe the third book that has been released a couple of months ago was the final installment, so it is a trilogy. The first book, The Confidence of Wildflowers, which I read last year, and I had mixed feelings on it, but it was one of those books that I couldn't stop thinking about, well, what happens next? So I ended up picking up the second book and read it. The books follow Salem, who is a 18-year-old. She ends up meeting her neighbor Thayer, and they don't really click initially, but eventually they fall in love and a relationship ensues in the first book. And it really follows the sparks of a relationship, the conflict of a new relationship, and there is a significant age gap between them, which is the primary crux of the novel. There is a major plot twist at the end of this book that I was not expecting. It is very sad. Trigger warning, do your own research before you read it, but I feel like the ending is what really hooked me and got me to pick up the second book. And the second book, The Resurrection of Wildflowers, is 6 years after the ending of the first book. Two similar... I'm trying to not give away any spoilers because... Okay, this is what I'll say. She finds herself going back to her hometown to take care of her dying mother. She ends up reconnecting with her neighbor slash ex-boyfriend. It's complicated, it's uncomfortable, and basically the story follows their reconnection after 6 years of being apart. I rated the plot a 2-star just because I felt like some of the plot points were a little repetitive, and I felt like the plot had good ebb and flow in the first half, but the second half it fell a little flat for me. Setting, I rated it a 3 out of 5 stars. I really like stories that are set in New England. There's something, maybe it's the Gilmore Girls loving part of my soul that loves anything that's set in that area. It just feels cozy. I could really envision it, and it was just precious. Like the little shops and getting to know the locals, all of that was a lot of fun in this book, so I rated that one a 3 out of 5 stars. Writing quality, I gave this a 2 out of 5. A lot of the same phrases were reused throughout the story, and I get that certain characters should have certain phrases or certain keywords that they use because we all have certain words that we go back to. I've said certain, I'm pretty sure, at least 5 times. Also on the writing quality, it felt a little juvenile considering she's 24 and her friend is also 24, so they're out of the college age. The descriptive words and the expressions of the characters all seemed really redundant, and that's just my personal take on it. Again, it made it an easy read, so I think there's positives to this type of writing style that's a little bit more simplistic. I'm not saying everything has to be a Tolkien novel or Shakespeare or anything like that. The reason we pick up books like this is because of the ease of reading. However, I don't think my tastes are suited for her writing, and that's not a bad thing. Like I said, one of my friends who I've named already in this video, she loves these books, and I think that's awesome. Like, whatever suits your fancy is great. This is just my personal take on it. Character likability, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I identified with a lot of the choices that the main character made. I was able to put myself in her shoes. I really like being able to do that in a book where I can go, okay, yes, that decision makes sense to me. I felt like Salem's choices from the last book into this book translated a lot for me personally, and I was like, I would probably have done the same thing that she did. Thayer, her ex-boyfriend, some of the things he did kind of made me cringe, but I don't know. He's supposed to be this hunky man that, you know, is drool worthy and whatever girl wants, I guess. He's not my type. Can't Put Down This, I gave a 2 out of 5. I wasn't completely hooked in what was going on in the storyline. Again, that goes back to the plot rating that I gave it. I kind of saw the way things were going. When a novel is predictable, most of the time I'm able to put it down and go, okay, I'll come back to it later. And I was able to really break this book up, and usually if I can't put it down, like I can't even hear people talking to me, but I didn't have a problem with this book as far as that goes. It was enjoyable the first half, and then the last half I was like, okay, I'm just gonna power through and get through it so I can rate it and move on. Overall, the average I gave this book was a 2.5. I averaged all of my stars from plot, setting, writing quality, character likability, and Can't Put Down This, and it came out to a 2.4, so I just rounded it up to a 2.5 out of 5. Now, something I'm doing different this year is I'm assigning a song to each book I read that kind of reminded me of it, and I'm also giving just like a little snippet review. That way I can refer back to it at the end of the year when I do my end of year recap. For Resurrection of Wildflowers, I put Halo by Beyonce as the song. I think that the first line of this song really encompasses the whole theme of the book pretty well, so that's the song I picked. And then as far as my review, I put despite liking the repair of a broken relationship and willingness to forgive, which I thought was awesome. Like, the characters were really quick to forgive and kind of attempt to make amends and not just hold on to grudges. I really like that. I don't like it when characters hold on to things. I understand processing and like people need to process, but if it's for like a really lame reason or the other character is not even trying to put themselves in the position, I wasn't completely hooked in what was going on in the storyline. Again, that goes back to the plot rating that I gave it. I kind of saw the way things were going. I knew how it was probably going to end, and it was when a novel is predictable, most of the time I'm able to put it down and go, okay, I'll come back to it later. And I was able to really break this book up, and usually if I can't put it down, like I can't even hear people talking to me, but I didn't have a problem with this book as far as that goes. It was enjoyable the first half, and then the last half I was like, okay, I'm just gonna power through and get through it so I can rate it and move on. Overall, the average I gave this book was a 2.5. Because of the rating system, this helped me out tremendously because I have such a hard time going, oh, it's a 3-star, it's a 4-star. It's like, well, what are the qualifying factors to make it that way? So I averaged all of my stars from plot, setting, writing quality, character likability, and Can't Put Down This, and it came out to a 2.4, so I just rounded it up to a 2.5 out of 5. Now, something I'm doing different this year is I'm assigning a song to each book I read that kind of reminded me of it. And I'm also giving just like a little snippet review, and that way I can refer back to it at the end of the year when I do my end of year recap. For Resurrection of Wildflowers, I put Halo by Beyonce as the song. I think that the first line of this song really, I don't know, encompasses the whole theme of the book. I'm glad I read it. I'm glad that I was able to kind of put a bow on the end of it. I'm not going to pick up the third book. I did start the Butchering Art as well. You guys, I am kind of obsessed with this book already, and I cannot wait to review this book. I'm loving it. I've been reading it every night, and it's fantastic. I'll let you know more about this book once it's done. Otherwise, I will catch you guys later.